Have you ever felt like the odds were stacked against you? Life can be tough, and sometimes it feels like every obstacle in the book is coming at you all at once. Well, imagine facing an entire army by yourself, knowing you're outnumbered, outmatched and exhausted. Seems like a no-win situation, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to Joshua, a guy whose story will blow your mind. Because the odds didn't just turn in his favor. They completely shifted on his command. This isn't a myth or sci-fi. It's a story from one of the oldest history books in the world. And it all starts with a broken promise in a desperate middle-of-the-night rescue mission. Ready to step into the shoes of Joshua? Let's rewind back to the days when the land of Canaan was ruled by kings, warlords, and potentates. The people of Gibeon had made a peace deal with Joshua's people, the Israelites. But this treaty angered 5 powerful kings in the region, including one named Adoni-Zedek. They were furious that the Gibeonites had allied themselves with the Israelites. So they did what any reasonable group of friends would do. They joined forces and marched on Gibeon with a massive army to punish them. They completely surrounded the city, trapping the terrified Gibeonites inside. It was a scene straight out of a siege movie. The clock was ticking and the Gibeonites were panicking. They were surrounded, outgunned, and running out of options. They needed help and they needed it fast. So they sent a desperate SOS to Joshua, pleading for him to come and save them. Joshua, despite his exhaustion, knew he couldn't ignore their call for help. He rallied his troops and prepared for a daring rescue mission. Now, here's where things get crazy. To reach Gibeon, Joshua's army had to march through a treacherous mountain pass known as the Valley of Ajalon. It was a narrow, winding gorge that was almost like a natural trap. But Joshua wasn't deterred. He led his troops into the valley, determined to come to the rescue. The journey was long and arduous, but the stakes were too high to quit. The entire fate of Gibeon hung in the balance. As they marched, the weight of the responsibility pressed down on Joshua and his men. Every step echoed with the urgency of the situation. Finally, as the moon climbed higher in the sky, they reached the end of the pass. There, spread out before them, was the sight they had been hoping for, the camp of their enemies. It was a sea of tents and fires, a testament to the daunting task that lay ahead. The enemy was huge, rested and waiting for them. Logically, Joshua could have said, "No way," called it a night and retreated. But something inside him, maybe divine inspiration, pushed him to do the unthinkable. He turned to his weary soldiers and said, "March all night long." And so they did. They moved under the cloak of darkness, their footsteps silent but determined. They ran a marathon in the dark, their eyes fixed on the distant fires of the enemy camp. Finally, as dawn approached, they reached the edge of the enemy camp, hidden in the shadows, ready to strike. It was a risky move, but it paid off. The surprise attack worked. God threw the enemy into confusion and Joshua's forces started winning. But as the battle raged, a huge problem emerged. The sun was starting to set. In ancient warfare, darkness meant the battle was over. The enemy would escape under cover of night, regroup and fight another day. All their effort, all that risk, total victory was slipping away with the fading light. With seconds left before the sun dipped below the horizon, Joshua did the unthinkable. He stood before his exhausted but expectant army and shouted to the heavens, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon. Moon, stop over the Valley of Ajalon." And just like that, the world stopped. The sun froze in the sky, the moon halted its journey across the heavens. The Earth's rotation seemingly paused, granting Joshua about a full extra day of light. It was a miracle, a reprieve, a direct intervention from the divine. Joshua's troops took advantage of this extraordinary gift of time and completed their decisive victory. They chased the fleeing enemy, overwhelmed their positions and defeated them completely. It was a resounding triumph, a testament to the power of faith and divine intervention. The record states, there has never been a day like it before or since. But here's the thing. This story isn't about us asking to stop the sun. It's about the principle behind the miracle. It proves that the God of the universe is not limited by our limits. He can part seas, stop plagues, halt suns, and even turn back the hands of time itself. When Joshua and his army marched all night, they relied on their physical strength and endurance. But when the sun stood still, when they received that miraculous reprieve, they entered into the supernatural realm. It was a demonstration of divine power, a reminder that the God they served was not bound by the laws of physics or the constraints of time. In essence, the story of Joshua's longest day is a lesson in audacious faith. Faced with impossible odds, Joshua didn't just pray for help. He prayed for the impossible. He didn't ask God to give him strength or wisdom. He commanded the celestial bodies to halt in their course. And in doing so, he tapped into the limitless power of the divine. So the next time you find yourself in your own valley of Ajalon, remember the day the sun stood still. Remember the God who managed the cosmos for Joshua is listening to you. Maybe you don't have a whole night, maybe not even an hour, but however much time you have, use it wisely. Take action, trust in God's promises, and don't be afraid to ask for the impossible. After all, the God of the universe is not limited by our limits. And with him, nothing shall be impossible.
Fountain Pen # Faith Tales, where Bible stories come to life. Bell subscribe for more timeless truth, told like never before.